800-222-5222 is the phone number. Now we're switching out to Karen Williams, President and CEO of 211 Orange County. As usual, when you drive into Orange County, I don't know if you guys have this experience, but you drive down the 5 someday. If you wonder how crappy LA County is, you hit the border of Orange County, you literally, all of a sudden, you can take a deep breath. The roads expand. The streets are cleaner. The air is cleaner. Everything works in Orange County.
Yeah.
Orange County had a homeless problem that was getting out of control. They started to take care of it, and 211 is part of that solution. Karen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the organization and what you guys are doing.
Well, 211 Orange County is a group that links our most vulnerable population with the health and human resources that they need. So what does that mean? We are involved with everything from helping the homeless. We're the virtual front door for the coordinated entry system into the community. So it means if somebody is homeless, they call us and we get them connected with the correct outreach worker so they can be assessed and then put into line to get housing as it becomes available. The second is that we're a virtual front door for veterans. We're part of a veterans collaborative and have been for 4 years now, and that's been working really well in terms of trying to make sure that our veterans and their families get the resources that they need, because it's so hard to navigate the system. There are a lot of resources out there, but we make it very tough for people to get to them. Same thing with domestic violence. If somebody calls us, we can get them right into a domestic violence program to make sure they're safe and secure. And also with food, with the CalFresh program, we not only can help people obtain their CalFresh benefits, but we also set appointments for all of the agencies in the community that offer CalFresh. So we really are kind of a one-stop shop for people. The big challenge for our organization, as well as the 211s across the country, and I don't know if you're aware that there are 211s operating out of 95% of the country. The only place that, believe it or not, that doesn't have it is the Chicago area.
Wow.
But we have a great coverage, and it really started with when Hurricane Katrina hit back in 2005, and all of a sudden you had people who really needed help who had never had to tap into social services before. And when you don't know where to find help, it's tough. So that's kind of that was kind of the impetus to really bring the 211 number forth and make it available in all communities.
Karen, you mentioned in the very beginning, you said that, you help the most vulnerable that are out on the streets and the homeless, but you said they call you when they need services. But some of the most vulnerable, how do they call you? I mean, do you, some
They're
of them,
too impaired.
Yeah. Like, how do you go out and find them?
Right. Well, there are a couple of things. There are a number of outreach programs, and I will say that Orange County has invested in the last year or two in both outreach services as well as building up bed capacity, because one of the things, and I know that you've talked about this issue before, but part of the problem is when you have no place to send somebody, like an emergency shelter or a transitional shelter or any permanent supportive housing, it's hard to get them off the street. Yeah. So there has been an investment, a real concerted look at making an investment to that. So part of what we do is once we identify where the individual is, we get them connected with the outreach worker, and or the outreach worker is out on the street, and then they connect them to us.
Got it.
So we work in partnership.
So you guys are not actually providing services, you're connecting people to services.
Yeah, you're like the conduit.
We're the conduit, exactly. We really are. And it seems like maybe I can see where it could seem maybe not all that necessary. But
no. I think you're so important because people people realize that there are people on the street and that there are services. But a lot of times people don't realize how to get to the service. You need somebody to take your hand and walk you through and go, no, you go here first. This is the paperwork you need. Or you go, no, you don't need this service. You actually need to go to this service. I mean, that's the important key, I think, is you're the actual important part that people are missing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've discovered here over the last couple of years, because some of the partnerships that we've had that have been more comprehensive with the service providers, has been that the role that we can really fill is in being a 360-degree connection by being the virtual front door into these services and provide a comprehensive support through one call, meaning that once somebody connects with us, to be able to connect them to the agency, but then also to follow back up with them. Because one of the things we found, just anecdotally from talking to our clients, is that we might give somebody a referral for a food pantry. Mm-hmm. And what they'll find is if they were there last week, the food pantry won't give them food this week. Now, that to me says, from a business perspective, it's like we've got one of two problems. Either that particular food pantry doesn't have enough capacity to serve the people that are there, or they have barriers in place. There are some policies, decisions made by whoever, the board of directors. And it could also be that maybe we just need another nonprofit down in that area serving those people. But I think that there are two pieces of it. One is that you need to identify what the problem is. I'm a big believer in that you don't just manage to the problem, but you have to figure out a way to solve it. And the solving part of it, to me, really comes from more of looking at it from a business standpoint of saying, what do we need to get people from position A to position B all the way to Z and get them stabilized and back on their feet.
And so many of them are resistant. What do we do with these resistant people, resistant folks?
Well, I think if you're talking in terms of homelessness, a lot of that has to do with the one-on-one relationship with a care coordinator for them. It's getting people back on their medicines and things of that level. What's interesting, though, is that of the people who call us, I would say probably at least 70%, 75% are not homeless, but they might be on the verge of homeless. And I think that that's one of the things we need to be aware while we're addressing the homeless issue, because we know we've got chronically homeless, right?
Yeah, and that's the group. That's the group that we are concerned about. That's the group that emergently needs help. It's gone too long, too far.
I was going to say, I'd agree with you on that, but I think something that we need to be aware of and looking out on the horizon for are the people who are on the verge of becoming homeless, because once you've become homeless, it's harder to pull yourself back
Sure.
up. So
the other group that I'm amazed by is that I didn't realize was as significant in the homeless population as they are, is the objects of domestic violence. I mean, there's so many great resources out there, and now it's good to know that they can also just dial this number and get to those resources. I worked for Human Options. I did some stuff for them.
Okay,
and
they're one of our partners. Yeah,
they're all over them, and they're great. And there's lots of great resources to it. To me, it seems there is a population that we should be able to go, okay, that's a group that's not going to stay on the street. They need education. We just should have 211, plastered everywhere, so they can just call and get in. That's it.
Right. Well, that's exactly right. And I think that...
although, let me just say, the reason they don't get in is they don't want to leave. They don't want to hear that they have to leave the abusive partner. That's what they don't want to hear. Right. So it's part of their pathology.
And also fear. Let's face it, as we're raised in this society, we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about the pitfalls that we're going to be falling into, and then how do you get out of them. Most people... my dad had said to me when we hit this latest recession, he said the reality is baby boomers haven't really been through something like this. And so you're having to learn a whole new level of skill set. I think that's really true. And I'm concerned about the silver tsunami that's coming up with baby boomers. We have so many people who don't really have the resources to live on. And I think especially out here in the western half of the U.S., we have a lot of people who are here without family members around them. So what's going to happen to them, and how do we get them educated to the fact that there are resources out there? Same thing with the TAY population. I think that the young people, too, there are an awful lot. We see those populations growing.
And then finally, the group that needs, particularly in Los Angeles, attention is the drug addicts. And the resistant drug addict is not going to dial 211. So any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think part of the whole question about drug addiction or any kind of substance addiction is that the supposed remedies for it are not necessarily all that successful. But what we can do, I would say, from a 211 standpoint, they might not call, but their family members call us. That's a lot of the people who will call us will be the people who are concerned about them and trying to figure out how to find resources.
That's good.
And that's a way that we can definitely help.
That's nice. Well, look, properly motivated addicts get well. It just doesn't get well in one treatment. They have to be treated over time. And so the idea that somehow you can treat them and then magically they're well, that's ridiculous. It takes years, takes multiple treatments. And if we're going to talk about success versus failure, we have to look at much different time horizons than people are used to looking at with other illnesses. Now, the resistance. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I would agree with you on that, and I think that also is true for the homeless population, because one thing that people don't really recognize is that if you've spent, whether you've spent one night, 1 week, 1 month, or a year on the streets, there's a post-traumatic stress piece that comes along with that. I had the opportunity a number of years ago when we were running the point in time count. We actually hired homeless folks, people who were living on the streets, to work for us, and we had them working with us for about 4 months in our office, and it was just really, really interesting to watch them, the period of adjustment, as all of a sudden they realized that there was a place to get water, there was a place to use a bathroom facility, there was a place to get coffee, and during that time period, and to get paid, and we were paying them, we were compensating them for their time, and with that time period, we were able to train them with some new skills, whether it was, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, whatever, and I'm happy to say we were able to get some of them housed and back up on their feet. But it doesn't happen just because you see somebody today and you put them in a facility, an apartment or whatever.
That's why I'm so irritated by just get some housing together and this will be all fine. That's anathema. That is a failure waiting to happen. And in Los Angeles, that is the only rhetoric you hear, and it's disgusting me. It's I can't tolerate it anymore because I know it's false.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is it always comes down to communications, right? So you have people who are either from a social work standpoint where they understand the greater need that's there, and then you've got the public policy component, right? And it's trying to take these intersection of these two together and solve a problem that, quite honestly, has gotten way out of control.
Right, gotten out of control because they've not been listening to the professionals. The actual mental health professionals are being completely cut out of the conversation. Forget maybe in Orange County there's an interaction. In Los Angeles, it's looked at as anathema, and it's just ridiculous. And so, thus, we have the problem. Karen, we have to move along, and I thank you for your work, and thank you for alerting us. 211, family, individuals struggling, call it. They will connect you to services. There are lots of services available. Yeah. And again, homeless is not one single population. It's domestic violence issues. There's drug addiction, there's mental health issues, there's veterans. They all require different and specialized services, and 211 will hook you up to that. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
You got it, Karen Williams, of course, the president and CEO of 211 Orange County. I want to make sure I get any website that's available to them. 211 Orange County is the Twitter handle, and 211oc.org is the website.